What's up, guys? This is Brent with Western Equipment. Let's jump right on in and start talking about this John Deere S170 and where it falls in the John Deere mower lineup. Now, in the John Deere mower tractor style lineup here, what we're going to have is starting with the S100s, then we go up to the S200s, then the X300s, X500s, and X700s. So this being an S100 means that this is going to be in the starting class of those John Deere mowers. Now, within the S100 class, we are also going to have 8 different models. So we are going to have the S100, S110, S120, S130, S140. Then we make a jump to the S160, S170, and S180. So this is going to be in that first class of mowers of the S100, but at the upper end of that S100, because as you go up in number from the 100 to the 180, you're getting up into more features, a little larger mower, and a little better mower. So here at the S170, we are the second largest in that S100 class. Now, as we're moving up in that size, talking about a little bit better mower, what are some of the things that we're looking at on the S170 that maybe we don't get on some of the lower models? And some of those things are going to be, for one, we're going to get larger tires on the front and the rear. And the biggest advantage of having this is going to add to the ride quality of this machine. So having a larger tire, bigger tire is going to provide more cushion whenever you're going through that yard, riding this mower, to add to that ride quality for you in the seat. Now, the seat is also going to be another upgrade. So what we're going to have here is a 15-inch high back seat, one piece with the adjustable lumbar support, which I'll show more about here in a minute when we get in the operator station. Then we're also going to get, with those larger tires, we are going to get some side fender flares here around the rear of the mower to make sure that that is going over those tires, to make sure if you are in those muddy or wet conditions that it's helping to deflect some of that from getting on you while on this mower. And then also we are going to get the front bumper and a little bit larger engine. So let's go ahead and get underneath the hood and talk about the engine and service points. Now, when we're getting underneath the hood of this machine, one thing that I like to point out is just how easy it is to raise that hood. There are going to be no clamps or clips or clasps that hold this hood down. This is simply going to be weighted enough to hold this down into place whenever you're going. So when we raise that up, very easy, one hand to be able to get that off and get underneath the hood to get to the engine. So what we're going to see here is a 24 horsepower branded John Deere engine here on the top, but the actual build of this engine is going to show right over here on a sticker. This is going to be a 24 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. So just so you know, whenever you go to look at this engine, this is not going to be a John Deere engine. This is made by Briggs & Stratton. Now, as far as service points go, let's go ahead and start over here on the right hand side. So what we are going to have is, for one, we're going to have our engine oil fill and dipstick. So if we take this cap off, we can simply pull up on that cap. There is going to be our dipstick. Then as we move around here to the front, this is going to be a V-twin engine, meaning it has 2 cylinders. So we are going to have 2 spark plugs. So we are going to have one right here and then one over here on the corresponding side as well. So when we go to do the spark plug change, just don't forget that we do have 2 of those. Now, right here on top where our John Deere sticker is, this is going to be our air filter housing. So we have these 2 easy twist bolts right here on top that we simply need to loosen up. Once we loosen those up, we can take this top off, and this is going to give us access to that air filter. Very easy, once again, to get to that to do any cleaning that we need to do. Now, over here on the left hand side, this is where our fuel pump is going to be located. Now, the fuel pump is not necessarily a maintenance item, but a lot of times if we do have any running issues with these machines, this is an easy change out right here. So just make sure you know where this pump is. And then right below that is going to be our fuel filter. And then moving right back, very hard to miss, is going to be our 30-second easy change oil system. If you have not heard much about this, I've got some other videos over this topic that I'll go ahead and leave in the description below. But this is going to be your all-in-one oil change system right here. So whenever you go to change the oil out on this John Deere S170, you do not have to do that oil drain. You simply have to pop this old filter off that's going to contain that old oil, and then you can pop a new one on, replace that, and then you are good to go. Now, keep in mind, this filter does not contain all 2 quarts that go into this engine, but it does contain almost half, and that is what you're going to be changing out when you do this. Now, if this is something that you are not okay with, just keep in mind that there is a kit that you can buy to install onto this machine that converts this back to the regular oil filter and drain system. Now, also, while we're back here, the last maintenance point that we're going to have here underneath the hood is going to be our battery that is held in place by a strap here. And then if you are wondering how am I going to remember when to do these different services, just keep in mind that right here on the underside of the hood, right there is going to be our service interval chart that you can also find in your operator manual. Now, while we're talking about maintenance, let's talk about one other maintenance item that is very, very important whenever we're talking about the life and longevity of a mower, and that is going to be greasing this unit. Now, on this John Deere S170, you are going to have 6 main grease points on this mower. 3 of those are going to be on the front axle. So we're going to have 1 on each side going right into that spindle where our wheel axle goes up and into that cast iron axle piece that comes off. So we'll have 1 on each side right behind the tire. Then we're going to have 1 right on the dead center underneath, and this is going to be the grease point for that pivot on that front axle. So to add to that suspension along with those large tires, that front axle is going to have just a little bit of pivot to it to also add to that ride quality. Now, the other 3 grease points are going to be on the deck, and these are going to be the grease zerks that are on each one of these spindles. And on this John Deere S170, you will have 3 of those grease zerks, as you do have 3 blades. Now, getting into the deck, let's talk about what exactly we have on this machine. This is going to be the 48-inch edge cutting system. Now, on all of the John Deere S100 series mowers, you are only going to have 1 deck option per model. So on this S170, the deck that you are going to get is that 48-inch edge cutting system. Now, on this deck, what this is going to be is a single piece of stamped 12-gauge steel that is going to be great for that lower residential mowing class. This is going to be a lighter deck. It's also going to be that stamped single piece material, which means that you are not going to have any welded corners along the inside of that, which means no spots for buildup and rust and potentially other damage to the inside of that deck. There is a lot of negative comments out there on these stamped decks, but the thing that you have to think about is that whenever we're getting into these fabricated decks, these welded decks, not only are we getting into a heavier deck that's going to cause for a rougher ride, but like I said before, we're also getting a lot of welded points, and where those welded points are means that we can have places for material to collect and build up. Once that material collects and builds up, then we're talking moisture getting into that material. It's going to stay in that mower deck and potentially cause rust and eventually cause weak spots in your deck. So with a stamped deck, you are not getting that and potentially adding to the life of your deck. Now, specific features on this deck, of course, we talked about it being a 48-inch cut. You're also going to have 4 anti-scalping wheels on this mower. Around each corner, you have one of those. Make sure that if you are changing the height regularly on this mower, that you're making sure that your anti-scalping wheels are adjusted and in place to keep you from scalping that yard in those uneven terrain areas. Now, you're also going to have bolt-on spindle covers on this deck. This may seem like a problem, may seem like a nuisance, but just keep in mind that these are very important because these also act as belt guides to keep your belt in place. So we have to make sure that whenever we are running this mower and cutting, that we do have those spindle covers in place. Now, you're also going to have a washout port over on the left-hand side. Then over here on the right-hand side, we are going to have a flip-up chute that is going to be spring-loaded to where this will stay in place whenever we're doing cutting to help keep that material off of you and keep people safe around you by having this outer chute. Moving to the rear of the mower, this is often a place that gets left out anytime that you are going to be talked to about these mowers. So let's start here right underneath the seat and talk about just a couple of things. For one, here at the back, you are going to have a dual spring suspension system on the seat to add to that ride quality that we've been talking about. Also, right here underneath your seat is where your fuel opening is. So what you're going to have is a tethered lid here with a 1 3/4 inch opening. Also with this cutout here in the actual fender deck of the mower to make sure if you have any spillage, that's not going to pool up and around your gas fill. And then also right next to that, we are going to have these 2 black circles here that are going to be our cargo mount system. Now, this is going to be the system that you use to add different types of attachments to this mower. So if we're doing anything that needs to attach here to the rear of the machine, or also such things as a sunshade, our battery bagger kit, things like that, we do have this system in place to make sure and help out with that. Now, as I'm talking about these bagger kits and also these sunshades and such, I've got a bunch of videos on the different attachments that go on these mowers that are going to be over on our other channel, 24/7 Parts, so make sure and go check those out as well, and I'll leave some of those links down in the description below. But along with the cargo mount system, we are going to have a couple of slots down here in the frame. These are also going to be used for mounting different attachments, and then also a hitch here at the bottom of the frame for any of those pull type attachments. So if we want to be able to use such things as a tow behind sprayer, tow behind spreader, lawn sweeper, whatever those things are, you do have the ability on this mower to do that with this hitch, and you do have a towing capacity of 500 pounds. Now keep in mind that 500 pounds needs to include the weight of the machine and the weight of any material or liquid that you're going to be hauling, so just make sure that you're not overdoing that in this machine. Now also back here at the rear, probably the most overlooked and most unthought of part of the machine is going to be the actual driving motor, which is the transaxle. And on this S170, once we bump up into this larger, nicer frame mower, you are going to get the Tough Torque K46 transaxle, which is going to be an upgrade as opposed to some of the other S100 series models. Now, what this is going to translate to is going to be the same driving speed. We're still going to have a 5.5 mile an hour going forward, 3.2 going in reverse, but you are going to have a little bit more strength with that K46, making those towing applications, carrying the extra weight of this mower a lot easier on that transaxle. Now, while we're talking about the transaxle, one thing that I always like to point out is this little silver lever right here. This is going to be important for you to know where this is in case you're ever in a situation where your mower will not move. If you're in a situation where your engine's down or you're in a sticky spot where you can't get this thing moved by hand, sometimes we do have to go with the old method and push this mower out of place or pull it out of place. And if we need to do that, we need to make sure that we are unlocking the transaxle, which is what this lever right here does. When we pull this out, have our parking brake off, now we are able to push or pull this mower to get it out of place. And then once we're ready to drive again, we simply need to push this back in to make sure to lock that transaxle back in, and then we're good to go. So now let's talk about the area where you are going to be spending most of your time, which is in the seat and operator station. Now, like I mentioned in the first of this, we're going to have that 15-inch high back seat with that adjustable lumbar support. So if you are that person that has a little bit of that lumbar trouble and you're looking for a little extra support, right back here, this little yellow dial, we can simply twist that one way or the other, and you can feel that actually on the seat, feel that lumbar support move so that you can adjust that to your comfort. Now, we talked about the dual spring suspension on this seat, so that is nice for that ride quality. You're also going to have a lever over here on the side that is going to allow this seat to slide and change positions so that you can fit different operators in this seat. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on here, start talking about our different operator controls. So over here to my left, first thing that we're going to see to the left of our seat is going to be our height of cut adjustment. Now what you're going to see is a series of numbers over here, 1 through 4, and you'll notice that in between each one of those numbers you are going to have several notches. So this is going to have height of cut positions all the way down to 1 inch up to 4 inches in 1/4 inch increments, making sure that you are getting that cut dialed in exactly how you want it for your lawn. The other thing that's nice about this is it is going to be spring assisted, so you do have to do this by hand, but with that spring assist makes it very, very easy. And also with it being right there, one hand deal, you can make this change very, very easy if we need to make that change on the fly. So if we're in the front yard and we want to cut this at 3 inches and we move to the back and it's a little bit taller, we've letting it get away and we want to cut it at 3.5, it's very easy to change that over by hand right down here to your left hand side. Then once we move up in front of that, what we're going to have is our brake and parking brake. So this is going to act as a regular brake whenever we are driving this machine, and then whenever we're ready to set our parking brake at the end of the day, or if we're on a hill or someplace that we need that, we can simply push in on this pedal, and then right up here on the column we see a bright orange button that has that parking symbol and tells us up to lock that in. And if we want to unlock that, push down, and that is going to release that parking brake. Now right above that is going to be our single lever throttle. Now this is going to be not only our throttle but then also our choke. So if we see the sticker over here, we're going to see that turtle up to rabbit, and at the top we're going to have that choke position. So to choke this mower, if it's been a while since we started it or it's the first time after winter, we can push this all the way forward and we can start the mower, and once we let off, that is going to be on a spring load, so that is going to push itself back and out of choke. Then we can dial in that throttle at whatever speed we need to be at. Now, whenever we're talking about speeds on this throttle, this is a good topic here to hit on, is that whenever we are cutting with this mower, no matter where we're at, we want to make sure that once we get those blades turned on and rolling, that we are putting this in the highest throttle position. That's just to make sure that you are getting the best cut quality out of your deck. It's making sure that those blades are spinning at the RPM that they need to, and also that you're utilizing all the engine power that you can going to that deck while also driving your mower. So make sure that whenever we do that, once we get those blades on, we're putting that up into full throttle. Now, whenever we're going to start our blades, what I always suggest to everyone is to do this at about half throttle. And you're going to hear different opinions on this. You're going to hear some people say start the blades with it in low throttle. Some people are going to say to start those blades up in high throttle, but to make sure that you are kind of right there in between and being good on your belt, start those blades right there at about mid throttle. Now, right below that throttle is going to be a yellow button here. This is our RIO button. This is our rear implement option button, which is a whole bunch of words that basically mean if you want to mow in reverse, you first have to push this button down, then start going in reverse, and then you can let off of that button. And then once you have stopped and you're done mowing in reverse and you go back forward, that's going to reset that switch to where anytime you need to mow in reverse, you do have to hit this button. And then now we also hear a lot of times a lot of complaints about this button, but keep in mind that this is a safety feature. It's to make you be aware whenever you do go to mow in reverse to make sure and look before you do this. So hopefully by having to push that button, that'll help remind you, hey, I need to look what's behind me before I just start to go mowing in reverse. Now, up from that, right in the middle here is going to be our hour gauge. This is also going to be our fuel gauge right here on top. So on some of these mowers, you will have a fuel gauge that's between your legs down below the seat. This fuel gauge on the S170 is right here on the hour meter, easy to see. So if we turn that key switch on, you can see your fuel level go up. Eventually it will read, and then you can see how much fuel we have right there on board without having to look anywhere else. Now, moving over here to the key switch, only thing that is going to be different about this key switch maybe than some other mowers is that you do have a lights position. So once you have turned this mower on, you've started it. If you need to turn those lights on to do any night mowing, any finishing up, we can turn this back to that lights position. There, our headlights will come on. Now, right below the key switch here, we're going to have another yellow button over here. This is going to be our PTO engagement or our blade engagement button. So if we need to turn those blades on, we simply have to pull up on this button. To turn those blades off, we simply push down. Very, very simple, very easy, and it is yellow to help you remember that both of these buttons have to do with our cutting. To the right of that, we are going to have a button over here that looks like a cruise control button, and that's exactly what it is. So whenever you are driving this mower, once you get to that speed that you want to be at, if you're making those long straight passes or maybe even those circles, once we have those pedals held down, we can simply pull up on this switch. It's going to lock that into place. You can take your foot off of the pedals, take a break, relax, and drive this mower in cruise just like you would with your car. Now, all these pedals that I've been talking about, right? So down here to the right-hand side, this is going to be our twin touch pedal system. So to drive this mower, it is as simple as turning this mower on, turning that key, getting it started, and then we have a forward pedal and a reverse pedal. Very, very simple. Then, of course, we adjust our speed with our throttle. Now over here on the right hand side, only thing left that we have is going to be a covered storage unit right here. So if we need to put such things, our wallet, keys, phone, whatever those things are, we have a covered storage compartment right here, and then also a beverage holder back here as well. So we've been talking about the operator station, talking about how all these features and functions work. Now let's go ahead and turn this mower on to make sure that you can hear how it starts. Now right now, I do not have my feet on either pedal. I have my throttle kind of in the mid position here, and I'm going to go ahead and try to start this mower. And as you notice, nothing happens. So whenever you do go to start these mowers, you either have to have your foot on the brake pressed all the way in, or you have to have the parking brake set. So I'm just going to go ahead and push in with my foot, start this mower up. Then I can let off the brake. Here is going to be at low idle. Here's going to be at about mid throttle. And there is all the way up in our high throttle position. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and go forward here with my pedal. Very, very easy, just like that. Same thing if I'm going back. Go ahead and pull up here. I'm gonna throttle this down to about mid throttle and go ahead and kick on those blades so you can hear that. So there's mid throttle with the blades on. And I'm gonna go up there is our high throttle. Now, we talked about this RIO button and being able to mow in reverse. So I have my blades on. I can go forward just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and try to go in reverse right here. And when I do, you can hear that mower start to die. So if I want to mow in reverse, I'm gonna push down on my RIO button, start to go in reverse, and then I can let off of that button and I'm still mowing. So that is how that RIO button works. Now, last but not least, let's talk a little bit about dimensions, warranty, and price. So dimensions wise on this mower, this is gonna be important whenever we're talking about storing this mower, getting it into that shed, fitting it into the garage. So what we're looking at lengthwise is 75 inches from the front to the back. Height wise, we are at 45.7 here at the top of the seat. And then width wise is where it gets a little bit difficult sometimes, is that with this mower, you are going to be at almost 62 inches wide with the mower deck and the chute down. Now, if we raise that chute up, we can get this down to right around 52. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because this is supposed to be a 48-inch mower deck, and that is correct as far as the cutting width goes. But we have to keep in mind that there is going to be a little bit of material out on either end to make this mower wider. So whenever you are accounting for if you're going to be able to get this through your gates, get this into those tight spots, just remember that at the smallest point with that chute raised up, we can get that down to 52 inches in width. Now, as far as weight goes, if you are worried about this going onto your trailer or driving across your lawn without an operator on it and full of fuel, you are going to be right at 500 pounds. So whenever you add that operator or you are adding this other equipment onto a trailer, just know that your mower itself is going to weigh 500 pounds. Now, warranty on this machine is going to be a standard 2-year or 120-hour, whichever one comes first, bumper to bumper warranty. So this is going to cover all of the mechanical things on this mower. This is not going to cover those wear items such as belts, blades, tires, etc. But if you do want to add additional warranty to this mower, just know that at the dealership you do have the option. Make sure to bring that up to your salesman if you want to add some additional warranty to this machine. The big question, price. What are we looking at on this mower? So what you're going to see list price if you go to Deere.com, and what you are going to see at most places is $31.99 as of right now in 2023. But what I tell everyone is whenever you are looking into one of these mowers, make sure you go to your local dealership or maybe that larger box store like Lowe's or Home Depot that carries one of these mowers. Talk to them about the price of this mower. See if there are any discounts available, any type of incentive programs that you may qualify for, and also those finance options to make sure you get the best price available or get the best payment to make sure and fit your budget. So guys, I hope this video helped you out. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, we just ask you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also guys, if you're looking for any other information on these mowers, such as service, or if you're looking for a different model of mower, make sure to check out all of our videos here on this channel, Western Equipment, and also our other channel, 247parts.com, to see those attachments and other service items for these mowers. And also guys, if you're looking for parts for your machine, make sure to go check us out at 247parts.com, the best place online to buy your John Deere parts. And as always guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to check out this cool video and this one. Buy your parts right up here and subscribe right here.